Hi, everybody. Welcome to Trashy Imports.
Yes, we had some changes, a
Yes,
few
we did.
changes that I will explain at some point.
Yeah,
But now we're just really trashy bitches that are just gonna be trashy.
I love it.
And I'm Raven. We've got Bambi, and now we have this Dyna DiVine who's
The
joining
lovely
us.
Dyna DiVine. Welcome on, welcome on. You were here. I know you were here last week and stuff. I wasn't, so I'm gonna probably repeat shit, but whatever.
All good.
Um, so what's the name of your production company?
QCG Productions is what it's called,
Mm-hmm.
and that stands for Queer Circus Girl, which is my Instagram name.
I
So,
like that.
yeah, that happened back in 2018. It kind of just formed on its own. I had moved back to Memphis from New York. Um, and I had trained aerial and pole and everything when I was in LA and New York, and then went back home to Memphis and got a bunch of people together that either had some aerial experience or worked in circus in some way, shape, or form, or like were yogis. And I was like, I'm going to teach you to do things in the air. And they were like, okay. And so
Nice.
we went from having like 5 performers to I think we have about like probably 65.
Wow. So it's nationwide?
We do have performers all over the country, but a lot of the gigs that we do are based in like Memphis, Tennessee,
Mm-hmm.
which is where I started it. But I live in Birmingham, Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
So we do
Okay.
gigs like up in Kentucky, all throughout Tennessee, down in Florida, through Alabama,
Mm-hmm.
Mississippi. We do a lot in Mississippi. Hilton Head, South Carolina is one of our other bigger contracts and stuff. So we're all over the Southeast, but yeah.
That's all like sort of how do I say this? Like traditionally more conservative states, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's where my
Was the queer community? Is it
You would be
you guys get a
surprised, especially Memphis. I think Memphis has like the third biggest Pride festival in the country.
that's cool.
That's pretty cool. There's a really good queer scene. I actually just did a booking out in Knoxville, where we went out before the gig, like before my shows at the club, and we went to a gay bar.
Mhm.
And it just so happened to be goth night and whatnot. And we were promoing, and then by the end of like my second show, the whole club was filled with like goth kids and gay kids, like well not kids, like obviously, but adults. Um, from the club, and it was so cool because it was like, wait, are we allowed to go in there? Like the girls were like, don't we have to have a dude? And I'm like, nope, you're good. So
Oh,
that
that's
was
cool.
fun. It was really cool. But yeah, I mean, we do with QCG, we do, lots of different things. We've done like church events, corporate Christmas parties,
Hmm.
stuff like that. And so like people are like, well, we need you to tone it down. I was like, yeah, we can definitely do that. Um, so it's
Tone it down,
like,
like turn down the gayness.
well, the
Oh, wait,
gayness is
what is it?
always there.
Or turn down the nudity.
So it's funny because like we do a monthly show in Memphis called Big Top Tees. And so that's
Hmm.
like a lot of like we have burlesque, we have aerial, we have fire, we have all of the different things. And so when people go to our website, they see like half naked girls hanging through the air, like with champagne
Right.
bottles, like pouring stuff, and they're like, can you get like have your more conservative outfits? We're like, yeah, sure. But it's so funny
Hmm.
because we got booked for a Christmas party this year. And the lady who booked us was like, the wives of it was for like a financial institution. They're like, the wives, requested that the aerialists wear something very modest. And I was like, okay. And so literally we were clothed from our necks to our ankles. But because
Yeah.
the fitted bodysuit, they still had problems with it. I was
What
just,
did they
yeah,
think
you're
you
not
were gonna do? Like just wear like you need to wear a trad wife outfit and spin up in the air, right?
right.
Like but that's the type of person. I mean, I understand, like, when it comes to doing corporate gigs, you've got to give the client as much of what they want as possible without hindering your workspace,
Correct.
basically, right? Yeah, without fucking
But,
up your own
I mean,
performance and
you
without doing.
go to aerial, it's like I can't do Lyra
No,
shirt. And then
no,
you're gonna see
in a hoop dress.
like my undies
Oh my
or like in baggy clothes either. Like
Yeah. No, in like a workman's overall
right.
set.
There was
Just be ugly.
that was
We want you to do the show, but we don't want you to be attractive in any way.
That's what it was. I was like, man, you're just gonna have to deal. But it went well. The client was happy. But yeah, it was so funny though because one of the wives was actually getting her hair done by my brother, and she was like, who also does circus stuff, and she's like, and Sharon's like, don't you do like aerial and stuff? And he was like, yeah, I've done that before. Well, we had these aerialists at our Christmas party, and they were dressed like such whores. Really? Where? And then he's like, "Oh, really? Oh, yeah, yeah. That's awful."
Tell me more.
And he was like, "Where was it?" And they told her where. And he was like, "Man, it took everything in me not to open my gay mouth, because he's also gay."
Yeah.
But he was like, "This woman clearly has no idea that she's talking about my sister's company right now." But he just let her run with it, and he was like, "It was hilarious."
I love that.
But
I
was
love
like,
it
we were
though.
literally clothed from our necks to our ankles, like wrist, everything. Like our arms weren't even out.
But just
Can
the
you
like,
explain how that, like, why you have to do that? Just like people wonder why pole dancers have to have skin exposed. If there's a reason for
Yeah.
it.
I mean,
yeah,
like we have to be able to move, and it was a lollipop era too. So it's like if I was wearing a long skirt, then I'd have to wear opaque tights underneath, and then that would look weird. And for me, I feel like that would be suggestive even more. It was just so strange, so strange.
but you know what? If you dress like an Amish person, then someone would have thought that you were mocking that
Yeah, you just
anyway. Like,
receptive.
not you can't please everybody. We get down to this all the time. Like that, you cannot. It doesn't matter what you do. You're not. Someone is gonna fucking hate what you're doing.
Yes,
Do you know what I mean? So you may as well just fucking do whatever you want and
Yep.
be happy.
Gotta be true to
Like
you.
the client was happy. She should maybe just not come out. It's like when bitches come to strip clubs and then they're mad at the strippers for being hot.
Right.
And it happens so much more often than anyone would expect. And it's like they ruin their own, like they turn up, the girls are naked and people are like enjoying themselves. And it's like they walk out, they've ruined their own night. Like,
This lady
just don't come.
like would be mad at her husband for being nice to the waitress because she was pretty. Like,
God, yes, that shit. Like they get mad, especially like in the South when everybody calls everybody sweetheart, honey, darling, all that shit. And there's like that fucking thing online where it was like where it said tip, the woman wrote, "Don't call my husband sweetheart." It's like, bitch, she did not want your man.
yeah.
Like it's just so ridiculous. Yeah, it's rife everywhere.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
It's really weird. It's really weird.
So I learned a few things about Dinah. First off, I will say she is competing in EDIs this year,
Okay,
but
cool.
also
East, and I'm in the showgirl division this year, which is very exciting.
Nice.
So
Nice. Are you going to give
Because-
away what do you know what your theme's going to be?
yeah, I have my music, I have my costume. Like Jackie is gonna have it to my house within the month.
Is it a surprise or you want to
I
give us a
mean,
hint?
I can talk about it. It's toxic waste themed. So the whole show is like you walk into a nuclear facility where there's like
Okay.
hazardous
Like
material.
biohazard.
Yeah. And so my outfit is all black and green. I have this big back piece that like frames my head that's made out of the biohazard symbol.
Mm-hmm.
And so like there's gonna be like ooze and gooey stuff and lots of lights and sounds and aerial and pole and it's gonna be fun. I'm really excited.
I love that. So did you create this show for the EDIs?
Yeah. So it was one that's been in my brain. I like started thinking about this idea and concept before EDI last year, but I was already building my dragon show for that. And so I was like already too far in once this one came to my mind. And I actually got inspired to do this number from a number that my wife had done in drag to Toxic Love, a metal version of that from Fern Gully. And so she had this like black like pleather jacket on that she had painted and dripped down with lime green liquid latex. And it was just
Yeah,
really cool
that's
concept.
cool.
I really liked it and it looked really cool on her. And I was like, I really want to do something like that. And it's funny because that was one of the songs I really wanted to put in my mix. And then it'll probably be in the longer version that I do like bookings. But
When you get booked. Yeah. That's cool.
But the cut one is done, mastered. I actually sent it to Raven the other day.
It reminds me of a set that you would, the music, it reminds me of a set that you would have.
Like dubstep and EDM and epic trailer music and stuff like that. So
I think that's the way to go now. Like, I think most of the time, like when I first got here, I think that rock was a little bit more accepted. Like, and I like all kinds of music, but rock was great. I liked to dance to it, but I feel like there's so many clubs where it just doesn't work. You just don't get tipped to dance rock now. So EDM works really well.
I just like,
and there's so many good remixes.
Like keeping
it's easy to dance.
People.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's got hype. Yeah, for sure. That's so cool. So do you use your shows, like the shows that you have as a feature entertainer, do they also translate when you're doing your other performances? Like, do they ever get to use them for burlesque performances or like events and stuff like that? Or do you have like strictly no crossover?
No, I have a lot of crossover. So like after EDI's last year,
helpful.
where I got first runner up in Starlet in the East and with my dragon show. So that weekend following that, we had we had a big tease, which is the show I produce in Memphis every month. And so I did my whole however 12 minutes or whatever it was for that, but I obviously had to alter it because like for EDI's there was no lira. But for Big Top there was only lira, so there's no pole, even though I didn't do a lot of pole work for that number. So it was slightly different, but I do kind of interchange things a lot. So it's
well, that's helpful, and it makes it cheaper.
Yeah. Yes, I would be totally if I had to do different costumes and different numbers. Now I try to like intermingle them, and I also I'm really big on like kind of like there's no hiding the fact that like I am a feature. Like I don't try to like keep like the strip club world and like the burlesque and variety and circus world apart.
I don't think you should have to anymore. Like I feel like a few years ago, like, and I'm sure it was the same here, but like I feel like when I first started crossing over, right, I was dancing at a club called Privé in downtown. Well, no, it was uptown in Auckland City, right? And they had strippers, but they also had strictly burlesque and like aerial performers who came on, and they were not there to do dances, but it was a really beautiful club. It was very stylish and had a very specific sort of a theme with it. But the girls who had been brought on from the burlesque community, they tried their best to not be like super judgmental, but you could just see it all over their faces. And just from the passive aggressive shit that they would say, like I would get off stage and one girl was like, "Oh, you're like," it's like, this is so much more you did so much more than what I expected from a career stripper, right? And it was like, that's not really like a compliment. That's more of a fuck you. Yeah. And it was like, well, you've just not spent any time in this fucking industry, because there's some strippers are fucking amazing. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like they're amazing. But I feel like that whole feature entertainer, not a stripper, or I'm in burlesque, I'm not part of this, I'm not in sex work. Well, I feel like that is getting less and less acceptable. Right?
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
There's I'm seeing there's still a lot of, just from when we tried to go do that whole thing at Tootsie's, we had a hard time getting some
the
studio.
Pole girls. I don't even know if that's what it was. I think that some of the pole girls that were interested, who are like pole athletes, right? When they found out that the conditions were not going to be the ideal conditions that they were used to, then they got scared, right? Because Tootsie's poles are like 20 feet, right? They're really high, and then they're thick and they don't move, right? They don't spin. And so these pole girls that have been poling their whole lives, they're used to the 45 mil spinning poles, and that's what they wanted. And they just didn't, I think that they got insecure in the sense that they didn't want to be beaten out by strippers. And the strippers were used to it. I don't necessarily know that it had to do with the fact that they didn't want to have anything to do with it. I think because they were interested at first, but then they found out that the conditions were not
More ideal for what they were used to.
right, were not what they were used to, and so they didn't take it
They
as
couldn't
a
hang.
they couldn't. They didn't want to do it. It was like too
Saw those girls tear that fucking pole up. It was
right.
crazy.
Yeah,
I mean, like,
yeah, 100%. And then and then they're all house entertainers or traveling dancers. Do you know what I mean? Like they're not like these entertainers are phenomenal. Like so, yeah, it doesn't matter where you're at. There's some superstars like in all areas of this community.
I just met a
So,
girl last
yeah.
weekend. She's been dancing for 3 months. Her name's Riot, and she is insane.
I love that name.
Riot Graves is her full like stage name, and she just started dancing. She is in school to be a trauma surgeon.
Okay.
And the doctors that she works with at the hospital were like, girl, while you're in school, like, enjoy your life while you're young. Go dance. We all did it to get through med school. That's what you should be doing right now. Like, have fun with it. Like, go. And so she's like, okay. And, like,
that.
my favorite,
Don't gotta tell me twice.
right?
Right?
Because, like, she's a trauma surgeon in training, right? So she comes into the club, like, the first day that I'm there. And it's before I even got there, but the security guys were telling me she walks in with her Harley helmet. And they're like, didn't you drive? Like, and she's like, yeah. They're like, why do you have a helmet? She goes, I'm learning some new moves and I don't want to concuss myself. So she literally was wearing her motorcycle helmet to like invert and like, I think she was working on Aisha. And so, but she was like really friggin' smart and safe about it. And I was like, hell yeah. Like I already thought
That's the way to go.
but like,
But
and
it'd
she
be
was
so hard to
young,
do those pole tricks with a giant helmet on.
Yeah, it
was,
just
like,
kind of changed a
really
little bit.
friggin' hard. But yeah, I just thought it was super cool. And then like one, like because she was being safe about it, and two, just like the drive. I was like, hell yeah, that's so cool. And like I watched
That is
her,
really cool.
and like I used to teach pole. Pole's my least disciplined thing now, but like I was watching her, I was like, dude, you've been doing this for what, 3 months, and like you can already do all this stuff. I was really impressed. Like,
That's
and she's
cool.
about to do their Entertainer of the Year competition at their club too, and she's oh my god, yeah, she's a rock.
I love it when clubs do their own thing.
Mm-hmm.
I love it when clubs invest in their entertainers. Like, and it's great when clubs support the feature community. But I really like it. I really like it when they also have their own like in-house stuff. When I think it's great to have a combination of, you know, you book some features, and that raises the profile of your club, but it also gives your entertainers something to aspire to, right? And then if you invest back in them and you give them the opportunity to come up with their own thing, I think I think it creates a really good working environment for sure. Yeah, I love it when clubs do that.
It was awesome.
I need you to do the Bambi.
The Bambi voice.
What's the Bambi?
So
What's the Bambi?
I went to school for theater. Like my degree is in performing arts. I did like TV, film, and theater for years and years. Well, when I was in LA, one of my classes was dialects. And so I did my final was an Australian dialect.
Okay.
And it was funny though, because I would switch between being an Aussie and being a Kiwi. And then sometimes I'd throw some British in there. It was really funny, but I was like on one because I do silly voices just anytime I'm like uncomfortable or like just being silly or like had too much drink or just basically any excuse I can. So like I'll
now that it's a skill that you've got, you just throw it out whenever you're feeling it.
Like, how are you doing?
And it's good.
There? How you doing up there? You're in the land of snow and ice, aren't you? You're still up there.
Yeah.
And then I go over to New York, right? And I'm over here. So going out to the Bronx and, you know, how's your mother? But I do stupid stuff all the time.
Your mother.
Sorry. I would tell, like, I would do that stuff. Now that I'm actually talking with you,
I've got to hear it.
Weird. Sorry. I don't even know what to say.
Call me a cunt.
What?
Call me a cunt. Tell me I parked like a cunt.
You
parked like a cunt. Say it again.
You park like a cunt. See, I can't do it. Yeah. Too much pressure.
Okay, do Australian then.
No.
Australian's easier because it's nasally.
No.
There you go. No.
Yeah, you just did it.
Yeah.
Like,
Sorry, no.
No, it's really sick, mate.
Now, if I'm talking to Cleo all the whenever Cleo and I talk on the phone all the time, by the time I'm off the phone with her, I 1000% have changed the way I speak. Unbeknownst.
Yeah. No, I get that when I talk to people from home. Because there's different accents from home. And I have to round out my accent more here so that people understand what I'm saying. Because I get annoyed. And it's nobody's fault, but like, especially in the South, like if I'm ordering food or some shit like that, it gets to the point sometimes where I'm rattling off what I want and they don't. I don't know whether it's that they can't understand me or they're trying to work out where I'm from. And so then they're not listening to what I'm saying. Do you know what I mean? So it always ends up that whoever's with me has to repeat my order. So you learn to sort of round off the edges of your accent, right? So that it's more, I kind of end up sounding more British. But when I talk to people from home, like for sure, it gets stronger. Yeah. It's funny. Accents are so wild.
They are. And they're fun.
Actually, I spent 2 months in London, in a rehab in London, I'll just say it. But it took me about a month to figure out what people were saying to me.
Yeah, no, my man, I love Guy Ritchie films, right? He's one of my favorite directors. I really love all of them, but I can't watch them with him because he doesn't understand anything that they're saying. I'll be sitting there laughing my ass off, and he's just like, I don't know what. And like British comedians as well. Like there's a Cockney guy that I think is really funny, but
Cockney's so hard to understand though.
But they're so fucking funny, but I can't watch it with anybody here. Like maybe Raven, you might be able to understand it, but like a lot of Americans are just like, I don't know what the fuck he's saying. So I'm like, but it's so funny, but nobody's getting anything because they don't know what they're saying to begin with. So yeah, it's fun. And Scottish, I think Scottish is really difficult for Americans to understand too.
That's
yeah.
So hard.
See, for me, do you know what's really hard accent for me to understand is like the Cajun Louisiana accent.
Yeah.
I find that very
a little bit. So when I moved here permanently to Louisiana, I was initially up in Fort Polk. There you're just kind of in an isolated community. So eventually I went down to Lafayette and it was a whole new fucking world. And I was really new to everything. And I was, I remember my mom telling me that Louisiana is probably the closest place to home that you'll feel because there's so many cultures and it just feels different. And I just didn't understand what the Cajun accent was. And I just asked 2 regulars that were in there. I was like, I can't fucking place it. I don't understand. I got lessons, like people would just sit there and explain things to me. And like I got to learn so much just from asking those questions. I could not replicate that.
But of course, if you're a hot woman and you ask a man anything, like they live to fucking mansplain anyway. So it's of course they were delighted when you asked them to tell you so. Like actually, she wants me to tell her something that she doesn't know. Here for I'll pay for that all night.
I was very, very lucky though because I ended up my next door neighbor. Shout out to Dr. Karen Winters. She was a professor at the university there and she was a Black woman. And I had fucking questions about what I was seeing, what I was hearing on the news, what I had learned from afar and what I thought I knew from afar that I was like, this isn't adding up. And she answered every question for me and for my son when suddenly we were, he would say something after school in reference a Black kid, for instance. And she would be like, she would talk to him more and more about it. And, his family, we're the whitest people in our family here. So, his brother is mixed and his stepmom's Black and cousins and everything. So it was just normal for us to be around, people that were darker than us, I guess.
Right.
But he, they're initially in being in public schools and whatnot, even from up here when we moved to the Midwest, he had questions and she was always open to answering and helping us figure things out and learn about everything around us. So I just wanted to say I was really lucky for that. And
that's cool.
I love you, Karen.
It's always good when you get to meet like that who are willing to have those conversations and like educate you on things that you're willing to learn about and that you don't necessarily know about, as opposed to
and they're not just like educate yourself.
Yeah,
exactly. Well, I grew up in a don't ask, don't tell military base, that era. So I knew that there were people like me and some of my friends, but it wasn't talked about and it wasn't accepted.
Yeah.
So it was downplayed and removed. So
Yeah. I think
I'm
I think
learning
there's a
still
lot of people don't want to talk. People get uncomfortable talking about certain topics, I guess. Some people don't want to talk about it. Like, they don't want to acknowledge things like white privilege or anything like that. But at the same time, like, people also just get, you can see it sometimes, like if a topic comes up, and I do it sometimes with political stuff because I don't want to have a conversation with most people about anything political yet. But there'll be other things where I think like it should be okay to talk about things and people, but you watch people get like awkward turtle.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? They sort of
Mm-hmm.
withdraw a little bit because they don't know whether it's okay or whether someone's going to jump down their throats, because sometimes people do. People get very
Passionate.
like, they do, but it's even past the point of being passionate. It's kind of just being a little bit self-righteous. Do you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter what it's about. Like, if somebody's genuinely asking a question because they don't understand, I don't think that that's a point where you put that person down or you shout down at them about what your opinion or how something happens culturally. Like, if someone's genuinely wanting to learn. But yeah, it's good. It's good for people to talk about that type of thing.
Yeah. Conversations.
Mm-hmm.
Conversations are different than confrontations. And if you have conversations
100%.
with things you don't understand, then you avoid a confrontation down the line. So
yeah, I mean, I've been very lucky in that sense, but I think a lot of it's been that I do come off as someone who, you know, I do come from somewhere else, but I still have observed a lot, but things were taught to us very differently, and it was, a private NATO school, so it's just what I came from. But also, I want to teach my kid the right thing, so I'm gonna ask.
Sorry, I'm having to plug my laptop.
And learn.
It's so wild. Like, you talk about, like, I want to teach my kid the right thing. But so many people say that, and it's like, it's amazing, like, the spectrum of what people think that is.
The right thing, Mama taught me, and I need to just pass that on forever, because that's what was taught me as a person, me being my own human and forming my own opinions and educating myself on what's actually real in the world. Yeah.
Right.
I had that conversation earlier with a friend.
Did you come from a very conservative family?
No, but I did grow up in the South. My parents have always been my dad and my mom grew up very conservative, but they were very like, you figure out you just be a good person.
That's cool.
So they're super, super wonderful. They own their own wedding company down in Florida called Queerly Beloved Beach Weddings. So they do gay weddings on the beach. They're just really, really awesome.
That's
people.
So cool. That is really cool.
Yeah, and
I like that name too. That's very catchy.
Stuff. Huh?
That name is super catchy. I like it.
I came up with it.
I love it. No, it's really good. I mean, your wife is a performer too.
Yeah.
Does she do? Oh yeah. That's so cool. Is there a lot of booking? Does she get they?
She, her out of drag. Yeah.
Yeah. Does she get as many bookings as you think that like drag queens do? Is it as popular?
So drag kings are definitely not booked as often as drag queens. I would say because there's not as many, but like these days there are a lot more. She's been doing this for 22 years, 25.
Wow.
I think she started in 2002. So 23 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Same amount of time I've been a stripper.
Yeah. She started at 19. And I mean, BuzzFeed's done a whole thing on her. Elle Magazine did a whole video project with her. She did a TV show called Transfashionable out in LA. She just did this like other film thing in LA. She was in a movie. Like, she's done a whole bunch of shit.
That's cool.
As a drag king. Even she's performed in strip clubs as a drag king.
That's so cool.
And
what's the drag name?
Spiky Van Dyke.
Spiky ever come on with us?
I'm pretty sure she would. Yeah.
Is she comedic? Is it a comedic performance?
So cool. So like I'm going to talk about Spikey as like Spikey Van Dyke, the guy version. He is a total rock star. Spark Grinder, has been doing Spark Grinder for years and years and years and years. But like, we'll do a Spark Grinder on a cod piece. Like on his guitar. He's a drummer, so he does paint drums with like glow UV reactive paint.
That's cool.
He makes all of his own beards, like glitter beards and stuff, costumes, all of it. Like, Spikey's an absolute rock star.
It's a whole production.
And she actually just wrote the foreword to a textbook on drag performance and gender studies for, I want to say, University of Maryland, but they had her write the foreword of like how she got into.
That's amazing.
Like she's a trailblazer for sure. Like,
went to University of Maryland for a while.
Nice. Like, really I think I'm gonna have to. I wonder if she's in the next room still. Be like, babe, babe,
babe, is it cold out?
What college was the textbook for? What? What college was the textbook for? She said some Christian university. Hi, sweet.
What?
It was a Christian university.
Oh no, I didn't go to that one.
Hi.
I went to school with the nuns for a little bit.
With who?
With nuns.
I have no actual real life concept of what that's like. All of my education about schools with nuns have mostly horror movies or movies where the kids are being abused. Like, I don't have any like actual real life.
You're the only one.
Is it accurate? Are you okay? Do you have trauma?
I promised I'd never speak on it. No, I'm joking.
Oh my God.
Well, it was right across the street from a church, and we would have to like. The memories I have, it's called asilo, so it's kind of like a preschool. Like, we would have these kind of recitals and stuff, and we would have to perform in the church, basically. And I had some. Do you remember back when peel off nail polish started coming out? Like, we're little.
Yeah, that stuff was great.
I would keep it in my pocket, and then while we were singing and I was like doing my rounds, I would be painting my nails, and you'd see the nun come and like take my nail polish from me and just like slap my hand and get me back in line. And I'm like, whatever. So it starts drying, and I'm like, it's time to start peeling it off.
I love it.
I do distinctly remember that this might be trauma. I don't fucking know. I started fantasizing about Madonna. It was around a time like I had the True Blue vinyl.
Yeah. Was that just like a prayer? Was that the just like a prayer time? Yeah. Okay.
And yeah, I was having feelings, and I was really little, so I don't fucking know. Do with that as you will. But did the nuns have anything to do with it? I don't know. But yeah, I did that for 2 years.
I don't know if that's trauma, like more
of a sexual awakening.
Right.
What did they? Yeah, the nuns just brought it out.
But there was if you think about just like a prayer, there was a lot of like that because you were young. Do you know what I mean? So there's a lot of that that imagery that was quite strong in that video clip, especially. Do you know what I mean?
It was in Venice.
Okay.
No, that was like a virgin was on Venice.
Oh yeah. Life is a mystery.
Did you guys see that video of the choir, like recently, singing like a prayer at church? Like, unbeknownst to them, like this song is about giving head. Like, they're praising Jesus, singing like a prayer.
I kind of like that, sucking dick for Jesus.
A hot idea, though.
I do. I know
that video was really hot.
Get like that.
But now I saw a video, and I'm wondering if it's satirical or if they actually like were 100.
I think they just. I mean, I don't know if people know it, but it's like it's kind of. I like it when that shit happens.
Well, I mean, hell,
You know,
that's when
like-
I used to go to church and stuff. Like, we did like this youth Sunday thing, and they had me sing like Evanescence. And
Really?
yeah,
Is there a video of this?
somewhere
Singing Evanescence at church.
as a work
Wow.
song.
Bring me to life. I mean, that kind of
It
tracks.
works. Yeah, it works.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was like this little black-haired chick in youth group, little goth kid, and they're like, you should do this. I was like, okay.
But I like that that's inclusive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you don't get to hear as much of that, like, about, like, religions being, and, like, your organizations and things like that being inclusive as you do about them being cunts.
Well, I'm, like, not
Yeah.
hardcore religion anymore, but I'm actually friends with the guy who was our preacher at that church. He and I are still Facebook friends. And he's pretty much, like, renounced all organized religion. He's like, I'm a Jesus follower. I'm just like, let me be a good human and hold
Like,
people accountable. And I'm like,
Yeah.
you go, Steve Stone. Like, he's just the
Yeah.
coolest dude.
That sounds like a better idea for me. Like, that's kind of my way of thinking. So I feel like the organization of it, when you get, like, the government and the bureaucracy involved in it, it becomes, the message gets convoluted.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What was weird to me, everyone as far as my Italian side of my family, we were all raised Roman Catholic. We did the whole thing. I even got married in a Catholic church and had Ave Maria playing on the organ. And it was horrible. And no one actually followed any of it. It was just a formality.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
even my mother and my uncle and aunt, they ended up going to India and following Sai Baba around and becoming Hare Krishna. And
Right.
by the time, my son came around, they supported me in not wanting to baptize him and wanting to just do a little celebration at the temple for him. It seemed nicer than
Committing
his
it. Yeah.
Like he'll figure it out when he's older.
You see some religions, I don't know, is it Orthodox Greek? Like, they like very aggressively dunk that child. Like, it's like not even, it's like a semi-drowning. Like,
Look at evangelicals, because they do everything.
Is it evangelicals? Yeah, that's an aggressive
and like go wild. Yeah, that's evangelicals. They're a whole different breed.
Yeah, it's kind of scary.
Oh yeah.
Where's everybody at next? Because we're gonna wrap it up soon.
Shit. Yeah, we were really bad about this last time, Raven. It was like 3 hours later. We're like,
that's why. Yeah, you can go on.
Where's your next booking?
My next booking as a feature is at the Pony Lexington, March 14th through 16th, I believe.
Okay, cool.
So that'll be fun.
Nice.
I'm excited. And that's during LexCon, so I'll get to go to the Comic-Con while I'm there.
That'll be so cool.
Really.
That was smart. That was good. Whoever did that booking knew what they were doing. Props to them. What's your like socials and everything? Where can everybody find you?
On Instagram, either Queer Circus Girl or Dyna DiVine. They're both the same thing. But if you don't want to see all of my drag kingy stuff and gay things, then just at Dyna DiVine on Instagram. I don't have any like OnlyFans or anything like that. So no fun things.
That's
we want to see you anyway.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna follow all of the things, and I love that name.
Thank you.
QCG. It's awesome. I love it.
It was accidental.
I love that this worked out. I knew it. Patting myself on the back.
Yeah. Snaps for Raven. Oh, thank you. Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, I guess we'll talk to everybody we're going to do next week, or we're going to do the week after. We do every second week.
I'm good with doing every week. And if you got to drop it, we drop it.
Okay. All right, cool. Well, we'll see you next week. All right. Thank you so much for coming on, Dinah. Talk to you again. Have a good booking. Bye.